Even your emotion had an echo in so much space. When you out there without care, I was out of tone. But it wasn't because I didn't know, no. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. You're having the time of your life. Why? That's my only advice. Who do you, who do you think you are? Oh, bless your soul. You think you're in control? I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just like me.
Hey, everybody. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to spend a few moments with me here on SML TV. I'm over here at Simoson Building in my little podcast studio office slash place of work. Guys, let's talk about this because I think that there's something to be said about what's going on. And if people don't talk about it, then it sort of lends to the idea that it's not a problem. It's a problem. But before I get into that, very quickly, a few shout outs to you because I'm always very glad and I'm always very pleased that you guys show up here. I'm going to say hello to some of you. Lakson, good morning, Mr. Mwewa. Greek gift for me. I will. Okay. Somebody says nonsense. Okay, Lucky says that. And then somebody says, "Imama father, we want to watch Mu Street, not Vama politicians." Well, it's ebb and flow. You know, you got to mix and match. You have to sort of, amalgamate the content. You can't just stick with one thing. But I appreciate you watching, though, George. Thank you, George. Appreciate you so much. Let's get into it. Incidentally, again, before I get into that, did you hear about the millions of dollars that were confiscated by airport security over there at Lusaka's KK International Airport? Millions of dollars and gold bullion. Gold bullion. It's the most amazing thing. But guys, you must know that during the PF, during the reign of the NPF, this was almost institutionalized. That sort of thing, what we're seeing, you've seen the footage, you've seen the video of bags and bags and bags of American US dollars being counted and emptied from these bags. During the NPF, this was happening all the time. The guys at Ministry of Health that would cut deals with big pharmaceutical companies in India and other parts of the world. Those chaps at Ministry of Health during the NPF, when they would cut those deals, I mean, imagine for a moment supplying a whole nation with medication. It's millions of dollars. It's a multi-million-dollar industry. And so when you've got the guys, Kuriaku Ministry of Health, there are some chaps there during the PF, they would make these big deals. What do you think would happen when a guy at the Ministry of Health gets a cut of $1 million from a $50 million deal? Do you think the guy tells the guy from India, no, just to transfer the money? Are you kidding? If $1 million is transferred to somebody's account, you think the Financial Intelligence Center won't take notice of that? Of course they'll notice it. So what do? They used to fly to those countries. They would fly to Australia. Some would go to India. And they would charter private planes. And they would come back to Zambia with millions of dollars in their bags. When the private plane, a chartered plane that they would get from India or Bangladesh or Australia, wherever it is, whenever it would land at KK International Airport, iwe maichewe kwaraisendeke EF chakut ngayachisalandi pa 12:45. You don't search the plane. It's under our jurisdiction. You will just allow the contents to just come through. That used to happen all the time. What we're witnessing now is nothing but scratching the surface. What we're witnessing now is but a tip of the iceberg. If you are millions of millions of dollars. That in the NPF, that used to happen every day. It was just part of the deal. It was just part of the system. Now, my encouragement to the authorities, let this not end here. That she didn't pia badi chita confiscate. It was millions of dollars. No. We want to know the logical conclusion of this case. We want, because this case has been opened up, the Zambian people naturally want to know who is tied to that money and go wherever it leads. Doesn't matter where it leads. Go wherever the evidence takes you. I am curious. I would love to know who that money is connected to. I'd love to know this. I would love to know what is the purpose of millions of dollars being flooded into this country in that manner. Anytime you see that arrangement, that combination, millions of dollars in bags, gold bullion, equals crime, it equals money laundering, it equals the mafia, it equals underhandedness, it equals skullduggery, it equals criminality. Everything about that transaction screams criminality. There is nothing, there's not one iota, there is not one smidgen, there's not one molecule of legitimacy there. That's got crime written all over it. It's got gangster written all over it. It's got underhandedness. It's got skullduggery written all over it. It's got mafia written all over it. So don't you for a moment try to think that the Zambian people are going to look away and say, oh, last week millions of dollars. That is not going to work. You've opened a Pandora's box. Take us to the logical conclusion of this case. Don't just leave us hanging. Otherwise, we are going to be asking you those questions. Impia Shirikwi, where is that money? Where did it come from? Where was it going? And who is connected to that money? We want to know. The Zambian people need to know. All right. Thought I'd share that with you. Let me highlight a few comments. Somebody says, somehow your brain is infected with praise singing. Moses Mubanga, you're a right sad bastard, aren't you? as they say over there in Scotland. Moses Mubanga is a right sad bastard. All right. Here it is. Mr. Muero, you are right. That's why PF cutters are crying. Yes. Logical conclusion is very important. Yes. Okay. Thought I'd highlight that for you. Okay, let's talk about, I was very disturbed last night. You know, I'm going through I'm sitting at home. We're watching, my wife and I we were watching something on television. And I come across my phone and I come across this feed on my phone. And it's an advert for a rally that the NPF, the Notorious Patriotic Front, are scheduled to hold on the 26th of August, which is this Saturday, in Matero. It's some type of rally. They're talking about their strategic plan. They're talking about rebranding. Here's the problem I have with this advert. It's got Edgar Lungu written all over it. It's got former President Lungu's face splashed all over it. Now, let me tell you why that concerns me. It concerns me because not too long ago, former President Lungu, or the 6th president, he prefers that we call him the 6th president, which is fine because he is our 6th president. A few days ago, the 6th president made it abundantly clear. He was very categorical. He didn't miss any words. He wasn't ambiguous, okay? There was no gray area. He was starkly straightforward and forthright. He said, and I quote, "I am not available in 2026, and the people that are trying to advise me to stand are wasting their time." That's what he said. And we took that to mean that his name is not going to be on the ballot. Logically, what that means to me is that the 6th president will not run for president in 2026. Eligible, strictly speaking. I mean, notwithstanding he served 2 terms, notwithstanding he lost the last election, notwithstanding he served his terms, and it's time for him to step aside. But this concerns me because when you look at that advert, which it's a political advert, it is a campaign advert. You know, even though we are at least two and a half years away from, not even 2.5, maybe a year and a half away from campaign mode. Here it is. You've got the NPF who are placing political ads, talking about political rallies, and guess who they're using as the selling point? They're using former President Edgar Lungu. Now, that's very telling. That's saying a lot. Do you know what that means? It means former President Lungu, it means the 6th president of the Republic of Zambia is speaking with a forked tongue. There is duplicity in what he's saying. The word of God says, let your yes be yes, and yet let your no be no. Whenever you begin to wallow and wade in the waters of ambiguity, you're neither here nor there. You're sort of floating in political purgatory, and you're misleading your people. Are you coming? Are you going? Are you here? Are you there? What are you saying? Are you saying yes? Are you saying no? Are you saying maybe? Are you saying definitely? Those are the games of politicians. When a politician begins to do that, that is manipulation. A politician shouldn't do that. Be clear. I took it to mean when the 6th president said, I'm not going to be available for 2026, what that meant to me was, don't put my name forward. And him being the current president of that political party, that NPF, nothing is released without his signature. Nothing is released to the public without his go-ahead. So don't say, no, maybe the media team put something together that the sixth president was not aware of. That's not true. Everything that's being put out, every type of communique and information that's being released to the public, I guarantee you, sixth President Edgar Lungu is fully aware of what's being put out. Therefore, it is duplicitous. It is being double-forked and double-tongued when the sixth president on one hand says, I will not be available in 2026. And then on the other hand, twice a money advert, 26 August, we're going to have a rally. And the only person you see splashing on that advert is the sixth president, Edgar Lungu. You know what that means? It means he's going to run. That's what it means. And why? For what? He served 2 terms. Do you know what it means to be a former president? I've said this to you before, and I will say it again, and I will never stop saying it because it's the truth. Zambians, you need to wake up to the reality of what happens in this nation. Don't let these politicians mislead you. There, where he is as sixth president of the Republic of Zambia, he's living a very lavish life. The house he lives in is paid for. Very soon here, the government is going to build him a house of his choosing, a design of his choosing. Where he is there, his medical bills, his travel bills, security, fuel, transportation, everything is taken care of by the state by virtue of being a former head of state. And he deserves that. Why? Anybody that serves in the capacity of president and they step aside and they are now referred to as former, these are the perks that go with your past service as president. You deserve them. Why? Because you served. Nobody's disputing that. That is not in dispute. What is in dispute is for you to start standing on the highest mountaintop and saying to your people and to the Zambian people that you're not standing, and then all of a sudden we start seeing political adverts with your name on it, knowing full well that you have not gone for a convention, you have not selected a subsequent leader after your departure from the presidency. You haven't done that. And yet here it is. You have signed off. You have approved a political advert that features you. You are in it, on it, and everywhere in that advert, and which tells me that you're planning on running. Now, that's going to cause a problem. Let me tell you why. Now you're going to have all these people that were that same Kada mentality. Because, guys, don't be misled. The NPF are angry that Kada culture that used to exist in the NPF is really not there presently. Let me qualify that by saying this. Kadarism still exists, but not in the form of the NPF. Today, when there's a Kada and you challenge them and you say, we'll take you to the police. Kwariba karia kamwenso panono karia. Uriva PF da kwadi umwenso. Kada kutia kweno kwebati. Oh, lea kuriba kapola. Leka nanakushindika. I'll escort you there. And whichever officer you take me to, I'll even tell the officer, wakume oinewe. Police officers were afraid of PF Kadas. They were afraid of them. So let's be clear. We still have a diluted form of Kadarism. It still exists. Even now in the UPND, there is a diluted, a thinner version of Kadarism. It's not as aggressive, but it is not in the form of the NPF Kadarism. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because whenever you now have the possibility of the sixth president running again, those chaps who are aligned with that type of Kadarism, they're going to mobilize and they're going to rally behind Edgar Lungu, because Edgar Lungu, former president, sixth president Edgar Lungu, permitted Kadarism. Sixth president Edgar Lungu allowed Kadas to run amok. 6th President Edgar Lungu allowed cadres to become a law unto themselves. They miss that. And the person that gave them that environment to operate in that way, of course, they want that person to return. Why? Because they want to return to that way of life. That's what it is. So here it is, guys. Right now, the NPF are at an inflection point. If they go ahead with this harebrained idea of floating 6th President Edgar Lungu as their candidate, Buana, you're making a very big mistake. You're making a horrible mistake, because now those cadres that were loyal to 6th President Lungu, they're going to create and remobilize and create a militia that in their minds, they will stand up and fight for Edgar Lungu, for his return. They will fight so aggressively, and so much so that they will even shed blood to make sure that they see that realized. That's what we're faced with. That's the issue that is at hand. That is the problem that we as the Zambian people have to begin to grapple with. It's much easier if 6th President Lungu was an honest man and said, I'm not standing, don't put my name on anything, don't put my image on any adverts. When you guys go to the convention and we select a new leader, let's go with that guy. But that's not what's happening. 6th President is saying, I won't stand in 2026. And then you're seeing adverts with his face there. What is that? What is that? We see through you, and we know exactly what you're planning. And let me tell you, you're not going to get away with it. You're not going to get away with it. Let me tell you why. Because the Zambian people are not going to allow you to hoodwink them into believing that you can come back and serve for a third term. It simply will not happen. Let your yes be yes, and let your no be no. That's my advice. All right. Somebody says, I don't know what they see in that man. Let me tell you what they see in him. The NPF cadres see a man that was easily manipulated. Because, guys, let's be honest. The only reason PF cadres loved former President Lungu was because they were able to manipulate him. And what's better than having a leader that you can manipulate? Because you may not be the one in power, but you hold the reins to power. Do you know what that means? You know what reins are? Not rein, infula. Reins. You know what a rein is? The reins of a horse. You know those leather straps that you attach to a horse? Those are called reins. You're not the horse, but you control the horse. Why? Because you have the reins to power. When you ride the horse, you can do this, the horse goes left. You do this, the horse turns right. The reason why former President Lungu was loved was because he was easily manipulated by these cadres. And they miss that way of life. Abena Kampiongo. Those chaps. Abena Nakachinda. If Mangwangwazi Nakachinda. Abena Boman. Those chaps, the reason they loved Lungu was because he was easily manipulated. And they miss that way of life. And they want that way of life by any means necessary. Are you hearing that? All right. Okay. Well, I thought I'd share that with you. I've been speaking for 24 minutes. That's long enough. This is a good comment. I like this. Frank says, Lungu is past. Let's move forward. Should he stand again, the results won't be any different. Let's address essential issues, such as the 100 kg gold and millions of dollars. Yes, I agree. I agree. Okay. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.